Alderwoman at Large in the city of Orange Township. So I want to welcome each and every one of you here. It's amazing to see such a big crowd. I started these about 4 months ago. I meet once a month, every month, and it's a time for us to come out away from the city council meeting, but us to actually talk to people and talk to them in an up close place where we can get our questions out, get our concerns out, and make suggestions to the city. So this morning, I have an amazing guest with us. This morning, he is knowledgeable. He is down to earth. He has an open door policy, and many of you probably already know him, have already had personal conversations with him. But I felt like none other than to invite our business administrator for the city of Orange Township this morning. I have Mayor Dwayne E. Horn also here this morning. So we have the business administrator, we have the mayor, we have Ray Wingfield, who is the deputy director of public works. So if you have some public works issues, we have Andre Crouch, who is the new person that's doing the office of older adults. If you raise your hand. And then we have various other stakeholders within the city. And what we may do at the end of the meeting, because we have so many people here who we probably need to be connected with, we'll just get up and just state, like, if you want to, like, I'm this person and I have this business, because this is what this meeting is about. Not only to give you information, and not only for me to get information, but for us to empower ourselves together so we can move our city forward as a city. I do love the city of Orange Township. I believe that it can be the mecca of the oranges. I do, no matter what anybody else believes. I love our housing stock. It's like none other. The historical things that have happened here in the city are amazing. We have this beautiful library. We're going to be doing something with that, and some of you may be asked to join in on helping with that. And you may look at it and say, oh, it's not beautiful, but if you go into the library and look at the structure, the infrastructure of the library, read the history of the library, the people who built the library, you would know that we have an amazing gym. So I'm going to bring up Mayor Dwayne E. Warren and the business administrator, Mr. Christopher Hartwyck, so they can kind of bounce things off of one another quickly, and then it can be a question and answer. But once again, thank you so much for coming out today.
You're going to be in the center all the time. Oh, good afternoon, all. I came here to be a guest today, but I've been drafted into service. Certainly, we're always welcome to participate. There are some pointed questions that. I'm sorry. Hello, all. I want to ask some pointed questions of Chris as if I am a resident, so that you can get some really deep information. We give you topical information all the time, but our objective now is to really dive deep into some of the issues that concern us. And I happen to have a little bit more information than you probably do, just in my position as mayor, so I want to get that information out through Chris and through our councilwoman. Karen Wells, please, we're confiscating all phones if they interrupt us. Yes, fix that on. So I'm ready to jump in any point in time. If there's a question that I can answer, I'm surely happy to do that as well. Thank you all for coming. Thank Councilwoman Newton for doing this. As she has guests throughout this series, it's very important that we get out information. As social media moves, there's always a stronger current of false information. This is our opportunity to get deep down to get proper and accurate information. Our planning board president is, our planning board vice chair is, whenever I see women in position, I always think they're the boss, right? So, our planning board vice chair is here, and if you look at the development throughout the city, she's had her stamp on making sure that it's responsive to our needs and that it's responsible as well. So thank you for being here as well.
Good morning. Good morning. So, for those of you that don't know me or aren't familiar, I was born in Orange. For some inexplicable reason, when I turned 6, my parents moved to Iowa. We fortunately found our way back. I've been here now a little over 6 years. I love the job, I love the city. My family lived here for years, up until when my uncle died about 5 years ago. They had a business in town. Orange is very special to me and to my family, and I'm happy to be here in this position. I'll answer any questions that you have to the greatest extent that I can.
So I do have a question.
Sure.
Traffic studies. Can you explain like what a traffic study is? We have this resident right here, and that's the young lady I spoke to you about Essex Avenue.
Right.
And traffic and being able to get in and out in the morning. It may be someone here from Snyder Street. It may be someone here from Pearson Street. They all have traffic concerns, but it may be just people here in general. I know Argyle has traffic concerns. Lincoln Avenue has traffic concerns. So traffic studies.
Okay, so traffic concerns pretty much universal throughout the city. Whenever you have such a densely populated city with so many vehicles, you're going to have traffic issues. Traffic studies break down really into two different kinds. You have what I'm going to call major traffic studies, which accompany just about every major development that happens in the city. The developer and or the city commission a traffic study to ensure that the development isn't going to add to the problem, or to ensure that there are mitigation efforts or provisions in place to mitigate whatever impact the additional traffic might have. On a smaller, more local basis, a lot of people bring up to our attention different traffic issues. The most recent one that I dealt with is on White and Ridge Court. We've had some accidents over on White Street. People have been using White Street as a freeway, if you will. They bypass Main Street, come down to White Street, shoot down White Street. And we only have the light at High Street and the light at Cleveland to actually slow that traffic down. So we sent the engineers out, they're conducting a study. What they do is they go out, they look at the stop signs, they do car counts, they look at the speed, they look at whether or not the traffic light or additional stop signs might help to mitigate whatever issues they identify. Then they bring those recommendations back to us in a written report, and then we address those in the administration and present to the council whatever changes we think need to be made from a legislative standpoint. So if you have a traffic issue on your street and you bring it to your council person, or you just simply call my office or the Department of Public Works, we will send out the engineer to look at the issue and to talk to some of the residents, along with the Director of Public Works. We will get a written report and we will try to address the issue.
Drop-off zones.
Pick up and drop off zones.
Wait, can I ask a follow-up?
Yeah.
Was one done on Valley Street for the big stop sign?
Yes.
We got?
Pick up and drop off zones. We've been trying and working with the Board of Ed for a few years. We finally got there this summer. We instituted pick up and drop off zones at every single school within the district. The one area where it was a little difficult to paint an actual drop off zone was Oakwood Avenue because the street was so narrow. So what we did is we painted the curb and we put police officers out there to police the pick up and drop off. We painted all the curbs, all the zones, all the crosswalks. We painted in the streets, the school zone signs, slow speed signs. We've ordered all signage for the pickup and drop off zones. That signage will be in over the next few weeks. There's a back order on all things related to signage. As soon as that signage is put in, or as soon as it's in, we'll install it. And we'll keep up on the school zone painting, et cetera, to make sure that it stays fresh. Because it gets run down pretty quickly. We even upgraded the quality of the paint. Not that that matters to you, but it's paint that actually is more durable. It's a little more expensive, but it lasts a lot longer.
Am I correct? There is a parking facility being erected nearby Can you talk a little bit about that and how that's going to impact the flow of traffic in the downtown area? And will we actually have a no car zone in some areas?
So the no car zone, we haven't gotten.
Okay.
Um, But the parking structure is associated with the development on Crane Street, the one that you see going up right next to the train station. As part of that development, the developer was required to build an extra level to the deck and to provide that extra level to the deck to the city. So it's 160 parking spaces covered. It'll be daily parking and commuter parking. It'll be run by the new parking authority, which was authorized by the city council within the last 4 to 6 weeks. We're writing up the business plan for the parking authority. We've already worked out some of the management and operational issues with the developer, which we'll share because it's a single structure. Fortunately, the way the garage is laid out, or the way the building's laid out, our level has its own entrance, and their level has its own entrance, because of the changes in grade. So it makes it easier to separate the operation, and our entrance is right off the New Jersey Transit parking lot. So it will help to alleviate some of the parking issues in this particular area. It will provide more parking, people actually be able to park there to go to Main Street, to other shops on South Essex, et cetera. And then there's a second part to that, and that is that the same developer has purchased a property on Lincoln Avenue, right across from the train station on the other side. You've probably seen it being cleared. That also renegotiated for a second level deck that will also go to the city. And that has approximately 145 parking spaces for the city. So all in all, we'll pick up about 300 plus covered parking spaces in the downtown area, available for both daily parking as well as commuter and permit parking.
Has any thought been given to having resident parking permits for areas particularly close to the train station where there tend to be problems?
So one of the goals and directives to the parking authority will be to study all of the permit issues and all of the parking issues, particularly within the downtown. They're also going to have to look at permit parking issues in the surrounding communities where we also have significant parking issues. But the answer is yes, they will.
This parking authority, will they have the ability to issue tickets throughout the city, especially in areas where there are drop-off zones, where despite the school employees asking parents not to park at drop-off zones, parents will still come in and park in the drop-off zone area, and no one is coming around to give those parents tickets?
So the answer is yes. The parking authority enforcement officers will have that authority, but the police officers also have that authority. And I think we've made it pretty clear, or we're making it pretty clear, that we're going to have zero tolerance between the hours of 6:30 in the morning and 5:30 in the evening for anybody who parks in a pickup and drop-off zone. They're not going to get a ticket; they're going to get towed.
So, I'm hearing parking issues and I'm hearing more parking structures, right?
Mhm.
So, I don't understand how you ease parking issues when you invite more states for cars to come.
I think it's a balance. You have to understand that to begin with, you have more cars than you have parking by a magnitude of a significant number.
Right.
And I agree with your point that you need
I didn't
to.
make my point.
Well, you haven't in
Well,
previous.
can I make
previous
it clear that I feel
venues.
comfortable, especially if the mayor is here, because maybe we can have this conversation as well, right? I think, where's the culture of walking? Where's the culture of biking? This is a very small town, right? So how do we create that culture if all we talking about is parking, or parking garage, parking, and bringing people in to park? How do we invite this other culture of alternative transportation into, yeah.
Well, it's
And it needs
really,
to be intentional. That's all I'm saying. Sorry.
really a two-pronged approach. One, and I can tell you this, you know, from 6 years of experience, for every suggestion I get about additional cultural changes to people's behavior, I get 1,000 complaints about parking. 1,000. I probably get in my office 35 to 40 a week.
So we reacting to the complaints.
So we
or
have
trying
to
change
react to the
culture?
complaints because that's constituent response. So part of the planning master plan incorporates some of the cultural changes and suggestions that you're talking about. The actual behavioral changes are going to take, years to actually materialize.
But it doesn't.
One is providing biking spaces or park biking stations. We've looked at and will continue to look at biking lanes. It's very challenging with the kind of parking and narrow streets that you have in the city. But we'll continue to look at from a planning perspective. Getting cars off the street will also enhance the ability to encourage walking and biking. And so structured parking to accommodate some of getting that car volume off the street is another step that you can take toward encouraging biking, walking, and alternative forms of transportation. We did look at scooters, and we had a company come and offer a pilot program on scooters. We asked them for a revenue share and an indemnification agreement. They left the scooter that they had dropped off in my office there. That was 2 years ago. It's still good. So scooters are a particular. They present other challenges, and they're not a be-all, end-all to the get cars off the road. We've also encouraged in most of the developments the use of zip cars. Just to cut down on the number of cars that people might have in a facility. So there are little things that we've been doing. It's not, an easy task.
Chris, can you walk through the Safe Routes to School program
Sure.
grants and the plans that we're looking at along the Freeway Drive, east and west corridors, as ways to create safe routes to schools and
Sure.
neighborhoods?
So we've been awarded a grant with from DOT in partnership with the Board of Education to create and enhance safe routes to school. We identify the routes. The first one has to do with the Park Avenue School. And we map out the routes that children and parents, walking children, take to those schools. And we enhance the safety provisions or aspects of those routes, whether that be fresh painting, fresh signage, wider sidewalks, less parking areas or no parking areas, pickup and drop-off zones, and signage, particularly signage, is very important in the program. And it's a multi-million-dollar grant. And then once you finish one school or one program, you're eligible to do another program in another area, but you're only allowed to have one grant open at one time. So the first grant, there was a survey that was done. We had over 1,000 people, respond to the survey. Sorry. And the Safe Routes program incorporates the suggestions of those surveys within the grant program and implementation. So we had the kickoff in the last 10 days in front of the library. We will continue to apply for those grants, and I suspect, given the response to our survey and the happiness of DOT with how we've mapped out this program, we'll be getting additional safe streets and neighborhood safe routes to school grants.
Can you go the investment bank for paving our streets. Just walk through how that includes our sidewalks and particularly the handicap accessible curbing.
Sure. Um, we apply regularly for what are known as transportation infrastructure bank funds. The reason we apply is because usually for the first $1 million you get forgiveness. You don't have to pay the first $1 million back. And then after that, you only have to pay 50% of the interest. So there's a significant benefit to the municipality for obtaining loans from the Transportation Infrastructure Bank. Those loans, when we do streets with them, also permit us to do the sidewalks, the curbs, and to do the handicap improvements at all of the corners, anywhere along the mid-block where they're necessary throughout that entire paving project. We typically do about, so we've gone a little bit further, and for our own funded paving program, we do the same thing. So if we have enough money in our bonds that we issue for, let's just say, doing Main Street, we would also repair the curbs, do the handicap, and check the viability of the sidewalks in that area to make sure that they were in good shape. We do about 10 roads a year through the Infrastructure Transportation Trust Fund or another DOT grant that we apply for annually. I didn't mention the Connecting Communities grant, so I just want to go back to that. We've also applied for, and have been working on this over a number of years, the Connecting Communities grant program in connection with Freeway Drive East and West. Everybody knows that 280 sort of divided the city in half. That creates planning issues and transportation issues and connectivity issues. So we've been working with East Orange, who has 13 cross 280 intersections. We have 6. And planning for how we can create some pedestrian connection and bicycle connections between one side of town and the other, without having all of those be main traffic arteries. We've just applied for another grant for Connecting Communities, and we're actually in the process of writing that grant now, which would give us additional planning money to look at Freeway Drive itself to determine whether or not there are things that we could do to calm traffic, to encourage pedestrian safety, encourage use of mass transportation, and things of that nature. Get to
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
I'm sorry.
And it was well.
Sorry, my peripheral vision.
For me, I live on Pearson Street. My problem that I'm having on Pearson Street is the same thing, not enough cars. You have a lot of the yellow markings on that block.
Right.
Where I live, particularly in front of the property, there's the yellow line. I can't park there. Work with transit, I get home 3 o'clock in the morning. There's no parking for me. There's a lot of commercial vehicles that's parking on that block. I've been calling the police department like forever how long, and I don't know, nothing is going on. It's constantly.
I'm just going to take some notes. I'm not calling anybody.
Oh, so there's constant parking there with commercial vehicles, not one, not 2, 3, 4 of them.
What kind
And
of commercial vehicle?
like, I don't know, it has the commercial plates on it. They have the ladder on top of the truck
Okay.
and so forth. So, I have no parking. I submitted a survey of my property to see if I could at least get like a the bus down up the sideway just to put my vehicle. I don't know. I have to wait and see if that's even. No, I didn't put it in there. I just did the survey. I mean, survey of the land.
The yellow curb in front of your house, do you know what it's there for?
I guess you can't park there because if you do, they give you tickets.
Is it
It's
fire?
certified hazard, it's not
So, excuse me, if you turn left off of Pearson Street onto Hickory, it's striped. And Miss Welch, right, Miss Welch, is the second house in. So it's almost like, and I don't know, I mean, Deputy Director Winfield is here. It's almost like they're saying you can't park here because of the corner, but her house and the house next to her is yellow striped.
Okay.
So in case everyone didn't hear, the question is on Pearson Street, there is a lack of parking initially anyway. On top of that, commercial vehicles are being parked on the street and not being removed, which is an issue that we have to deal with because they shouldn't be parked there and we should be towing them away if they are there. So we'll deal with that. Her other question is in front of her house, she wants to do a cutout so that she can have a driveway. And I'm going to explain to her the permit process. You go in to zoning, you ask for a permit to do a cutout. They grant the cutout, then you can do the cutout. They'll tell you how much of the surface can be impervious, how much you can pave over. And the other issue with the striping, I have the law department doing a study throughout the city to determine whether or not our striping is exactly adequate. In some cases, we can stripe and go over a little, like if there's a stop sign, you can't park within 50 feet of the stop sign. If that striping, if we had a lot of parking, we can move that striping 55 because it says up to 50. So we can move 55 to 60. Since we don't have the kind of parking, we have to be rather precise when we do our striping. And so we're doing a citywide effort to make sure that we're actually precise, and we're looking to see if we need to alter our ordinances to see if we can even make the parking space or the non-parking space a little bit smaller so we can maximize parking space on the street. So we'll be doing that throughout the city. But I'll look into your issue directly. And as you bring things up and they're happening to you directly, we're going to look at it globally as a policy, but we're also going to address your issue directly as well.
So, Mayor Warren, I have a question to that. So, whenever Ms. Welch goes into zoning and she asks them this question and they come out and they look at whatever they do, now will she receive a written report or is it verbal?
She initially, if she comes in and says, I want to do a cutout, they're going to verbally tell her this is the process. They're going to give you documentation that you should complete. Once you complete it, you should turn it in. You should ask, and we should tell you. If we don't tell you, you should ask, what is the turnaround time? Turnaround time, depending on the permit, there is a regulatory turnaround time. You want to know what that is. And if you don't get it, you should call 862 373 0025. And if you call or text your information there, I'm guaranteed you'll get a response in some miraculous way. Someone's going to call you back with the proper information. 862-373-0025. I personally don't like red tape. Much to Karen Welder's chagrin, I do not like technology. I like someone to come out and address my issue and get me moving. And so that's what I like to expedite. 862-373-0025. If there's no answer, text, hey, Mayor, I put my permit in 20 days ago, haven't gotten anything. I guarantee you're going to get a response from someone addressing your issue. But you should get it in writing. Everything you do with the city should be in writing. If someone tells you something, you can't do this, you can't do that, what's the source? Please get it in writing. Let me just call the mayor and see if I can get it in writing. If you do those three things, you're guaranteed to get something responsive.
Ms. Wells,
Okay.
and then the lady behind Ms.
Okay, a
Wells.
couple of things. I think that this town should, especially since we're a Main Street designated town and a transit village, we should do municipal parking lots. Okay, but I'm done with that. Y'all discussion. In terms of technology, it's like the mayor said, okay, if I got to go to zoning or something like that, I should be able to do that online. I should be able to sign the document online. The technology here.
I agree that should happen. I just don't personally like it. But I agree that we should. I agree that we should have it for those who think it more efficient. You don't have to leave your house.
Because some people are not tech savvy. You have the option.
That's why I am researching the Dell municipal package. I've only said this a million times. Most towns use it. They come into your town and
Township, everything, your library, police, your this, your that, whatever. Everything is on the same thing. And you get a real website. Don't even start me on our website. But they handle everything, and all you do, you don't buy anything. All you do is pay a lease, and everything is handled. I mean, everybody signs everything electronic. Paper? I can't believe the paper that we generate on it. It's ridiculous. So I'm gonna present that to the government municipal package, to the mayor and some other people. It only makes sense. I mean, there's so many things that make sense that we don't do, and I don't understand why. When it's common knowledge.
I got that suggestion from Karen Wells and immediately drafted her onto a townwide committee that I'm having to do the work on. And so very shortly, we'll have a report on technology, on some things we're doing at the library. It's going to be a rather intensive effort that we're going to undertake. And I've drafted her into service. So if you bring something up, be expected that you might be drafted into service or at least.
No, let me be quiet,
No, please. But we need the suggestion. But sometimes we have, like Karen's been doing this for a number of years, so we need your technical input. We won't work you out of your interest, but we will get you to get us ignited into what we need to do because we need all the help that we can get on the ground.
We're gonna do it all online, so you ain't really gotta go nowhere.
You know, the way-
Young lady behind with the black.
Again, I'm Miss Lang, one of those long-term homeowners, 30 years in this area. I live on Snyder Street. Snyder Street is a mess. They have it one way now. People are still coming from North Bay, the old fashioned again. My house is in the corner. They almost had 4 or 5 accidents yesterday. Nobody wants to stop. And we had a meeting on Snyder Street last year. There was supposed to be stop signs on all 4 corners. That hasn't happened. But my house sit out on the side by the parking lot. I have 1 car garage parking space. It's supposed to be yellow line paint so people won't block my garage. I mean, I have older parents in case of emergency. We can't even get out. When you ask people not to block the driveway, they touch it out and it's very nasty. I don't know what's going to be snow. When the snow comes, that's going to be a mess. But they tell me to get off each side, the whole street clean. They want it clear so they can clear the snow. There's not going to be enough parking spaces for people to come out. And then we're going to have people park and everywhere else on Snyder Street. It should have been permit parking, alternate that it originally was, but the street is too tight. The fire trucks, how they going to get down to your house burning up? You got to go to the hospital, have a heart attack, or some ambulance. Somebody doesn't park, they move, they don't want to move, how you want to get out? The person could just die trying to get to the hospital, because people don't want to move.
So with Snyder Street, we've had a couple of meetings on Snyder Street. We went out and I think was the pandemic still going out in the streets. We had meetings. Most of the residents wanted permit parking. Some residents from 2021 wanted one-way parking. So legislation was proposed to the council 2 council meetings ago, and they voted for it to be one-way parking, but we still have a majority of people on Snyder Street, such as Ms. Lane, who don't want one-way parking at all. And it's a 90-day.
Yeah, so on Snyder, there was a vote because council persons from the area thought it would be prudent to have this one way.
Not me. I just want to put that disclaimer in there.
That's true. I didn't necessarily agree. So there's a 90-day test period for Snyder. Within that 90 days, our engineers will be studying, and I suspect that with meetings from Snyder, it's going to change from the one-way back to the two-way, and then back with permit parking, because I think that's the most effective thing for Snyder. So when you hear about community meetings on Snyder and surrounding streets, please attend or call and say, hey, I want to give this input into that meeting. That's going to be very critically important, and it's going to happen in the next 90 days. It's already been a week since it's been in motion, so 90 days is going to move very quickly. And so I think Councilwoman Wooten is going to start having meetings there in the first part of March to propose the new legislation. So please, if you're in that area, please be involved in those public meetings because the status of the ordinance will be at stake.
Yeah, I have two questions for you. There's a new development that's going over on, I live on Argyle Avenue. There's a new development that's going over on Williams that's right on, what's the number?
We don't vote.
751. Do you consider the parking effects that's going to have on the parking in the nearby area when the development brings plans? Because I'm getting mixed messages for the development of that building. Some people saying it's going to be parking under the building for the residents. And but I'm looking at the scaffolding, that doesn't seem to be the case.
Okay,
Because if there is no parking, it's going to be a mess.
there's parking associated with that development underneath the building.
There is no.
And it's a little bit more than one-to-one parking.
Okay.
But the parking on those,
Is a mess.
there are issues,
Yes.
particularly in that area. We've often been concerned about emergency vehicle access, particularly at night when people are parking on both sides.
Yes.
So we've ordered a parking study for VOSAP,
Okay.
just as an independent, city initiative from a safety standpoint.
Okay.
And ask for some solutions to the emergency vehicle access issue if it's actually real, right? And that's part of the study.
But is it just both? Because both is just like, what,
Both.
one block? Is it not the whole, both is 2 blocks?
Yeah.
In Orange? Both is 2
Well,
blocks?
if you cross the street, it's 2 blocks. If you're on this side, it's 1 block.
Oh, okay. But so
It
is it
includes
not?
the surroundings.
Okay.
And I'm not sure how you would be able to handle the situation, but every winter on that corner of Bowes and Scott, or Bowes and Valley, when it's cold and it's iced up, it's always a jam right there at that corner. It's accidents, jams, it's ridiculous. Bowes and Argyle, excuse me, Bowes and Argyle.
Bose and Ardine.
Bowes and Argyle.
Part of this study is a dream for me, really, and with some of the residents, is to commandeer some of the existing apartment unit parking lots to make them multi-level.
Yes.
And we would participate in
Yes.
constructing that. So that's part of what the study is going to inform us, part of the application we have to do for a grant or for a bond in order to make it happen. So that's the first step.
I'm not a parking guru, but I mean, just walking up and down Bowes Avenue, I think maybe angled parking might work. Or one-way angled parking on Bowes Avenue.
And one-way traffic.
On one side.
Yeah.
And one-way traffic.
One-way traffic.
That would work.
One-way traffic.
That would be like now.
Bowes.
That's one of the things. The one-way traffic we're definitely looking at. I'll bring up the angle.
Okay.
Argyle and Bose
Argyle and Bowes.
for the snow.
Yes. 3. I'm sitting on my porch of Argyle, and cars run through up and down Argyle like it's a track meet, like it's F1, whatever. They fly down there, and I was wondering what we could do to get something out to slow these things down. Speed, maybe not a speed bump, because the way they drive, they don't see it, they're gonna hit a car and they're gonna run into somebody. That's how fast they are. So it's ridiculous. It's bad. It's really bad.
Initially, what we have to do is more significant traffic.
Okay.
And let's see what that yields.
Yes.
And then we'll look while we're doing that at signage
Okay.
and painting.
Okay.
All of those steps come before speed bumps or speed humps or speed tables, all of which create problems for emergency vehicles.
Okay. And this, I know I said I had to, but actually, I'll let you go. This doesn't affect me directly, but sometimes I work midnights and I come in and I pass by that Hat City kitchen, and it's ridiculous. I don't know, it's a noise issue. There's always people hanging out there. They park on both sides of the street, and sometimes I see the debris on the ground. There's always an accident over there, and I mean they need to keep it down and just have the police come out and actually control that corner because they park on both sides of the street. Sometimes it takes me a little bit just to get on my block. And I'm pretty sure that in the last meeting there was a complaint about that.
Yeah, and it's on next to the next
Yeah, next
app. They've been talking about it a lot lately. And they, yeah.
Okay, I'll step on my soapbox now.
So we have a question in the green, then you have made in the blue, and you have a question?
No, I don't have a question, I have a presentation to ask the Commissioner of the Essex County, Tanisha Cooper, asked me to attend this meeting.
So
You, our
we-
firm has.
We're gonna do questions first.
Right.
Well, the question is, how are you going to address the community tax in your city? You have an issue. Residents complain to say that there's tax that are not being tracked, neither not being returned. Mayor Boss, a very good friend of our mayor, saw the vision, and he has the track neuter return program, and he works with the Essex County. I gave it to your business administrator, St. Hubert. I'm sure everybody in this room has community cats around that are multiplying. And as you realize, a kitten at 4 months can have 4 to 5 cats, and then another 4 to 5 cats twice a year. You need to address the problem. Yes, you need them for mice and rats, they're perfect, they're better, but even his brother, Mayor Wallace, put out a rat. They go to everybody a rat information, and on the back he said, make sure you keep those community cats there. It's better than poison, and it keeps away the mice and rats. Now, the reason why I'm here, Essex County, Tanisha Cooper, I work very closely with her, so she's the chairperson of Community Cats of Essex County. I have gone to the commissioners, at that time they were freeholders, and I begged them to see the issue. They saw it, and they said, you're right, every problem has a solution. You have a problem, you gotta get the solution. Here I am to ask you people, I'm a meow, wants to know, also, I work with Senator Raymond Lesniak in Kane University. He has an advocate for social justice. But whatever you feel that's important, you go to Kane University, 6th floor, and you become an advocate of what you think is important. He needs you. He wants you. This is the Lesniak Institution. He's behind this track return to the program for the whole state of New Jersey.
y'all aware?
Steps up, wait a minute, let me step up, let's make a role model. Because you've got a great mayor, you've got a great people to work together, no, you are. And you're a, you've got council people, if they know, they're gonna do something. Because I spoke to the Board of Education person, but Tanisha said, we go to the meeting, and the girl is working at Stop and Shop that had an issue. She said, where you go? And I said, well, I'm going to take care of it, thank you, have a blessed day.
You better get.
Yeah, I spoke for this
So
before
we gave Chris,
the
can I
meeting.
say something?
Yeah.
So I want each and everyone in here to know that when I send out an invitation for conversation, it goes to everybody in Essex County, all of the freeholders, all of the senators, all of the, everybody that has something to do with, Essex County. So they have an invitation. So if Mr. Lesniak wants to contact me to come, and he be a person that we have a coffee and conversation, I'll gladly do that, so you can take it back.
And also Senator Renee Burgess is behind us.
Okay, and that senator as well, because we can talk about the cats, and we can talk about the animals, because it's really of Orange Township. And then, because we don't want to sidetrack this meeting, because we have a lot of residents here with a lot of concerns, we want everybody to get their concerns in, but we also know that our animals are our families too, so we also want to deal with that, but so I'm gonna reach out to, okay, sorry. Yeah.
Just add to, have her statement.
So,
You know,
I hope, I hope you go because that's my first summer.
Yeah, excuse me.
yeah, I'm on Cartwright Terrace behind the high school, and there's a roadblock problem on the block because we have to use Orkin and several other residents on the block. They're using lines because of the road problem, and I was attributing it to possibly all the construction work that's going on in the community. And even the new council person for the West Ward, in her presentation when she was running,
she, made sure that there's a citywide, in Orange, so even though we own the cat, we own the dog, I would love to see more cats in the. Yes.
So,
It's a natural.
so,
I don't think you're a shortage of community cats.
I understand that, so we'll get BA Chris to speak to the rodent problem, which has been a long, a problem in the city of Orange Township. And, we'll also, like I said, we'll invite some other people here to talk about the animals, like animals' rights. So, some people are cat people, I'm a dog person, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Speaking about the dogs, let's talk about curving dogs.
Yeah.
Dogs in the park.
But
But they curb them in the park. That's the.
No, they don't. You can clean them after you find them. You don't.
so first we're gonna get this young lady in the turquoise blazer. She has a question, and then the gentleman in the blue jacket.
So I live on Lincoln Place, one block from Scotland to Lincoln Avenue. 3 years ago, I attended the sophomore meeting after my car was hit for the fourth time, and that time it was October. So the issue that we have on Lincoln Avenue 3 years ago was there's an alternate parking and there's a 3-window. Like one side you park from 9 until, and then the other side you can't park from 12 a.m. Again. So that was 3 years ago. Today, it starts at 3 in the afternoon because there's so many more people on the block. So you have cars on both sides of the street from 3 in the afternoon. Cops don't pass. Years ago, I've been there for 20 years. Years ago, cops come by. They park 3 minutes before 9 o'clock on the other side and you get a ticket. It's nothing now. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, people are parking because everybody wants to get a car in front of their house or whatever. So, Lincoln Place is a little hill. You get people coming down the hill from 0 to 60 by the time you get to the point. And there's 3 years ago, the reason why my car got pulled up because PSNG digged up the road. Well, this person was on the wrong lane driving. They must have hit the little hump because they didn't level out the road and ran into the back of my car. That little hump is still there in the middle of the road. So we're just waiting for the next car, the next person to be hit, to be told. But the problem is the parking on both sides from 3 o'clock in the afternoon when it's supposed to start at 9 o'clock. It's a big problem because the side of the street is filled up and you still got people on the other side. So it's a very small block and it's very tight. After you come through, nobody stops to say, move your car, or if you stay here, you get a ticket. You don't get nothing like that anymore. So that's a big problem.
I'll take care of that.
And it's gonna be even bigger with that new apartment building going up there.
Yeah, because you get the overflow from Lincoln Avenue.
Yeah.
Parking too. Yeah.
So be it, this young man right here, I think he's texting notes, and I think he may be texting, I don't know, the police, maybe. I just wanted people to know, like, this is the one person, well, not the one person, but this is one person that when a resident has a problem in the city, such as Miss Welch, such as Miss Quelly, about the dogs in the park, such as parking and things that people bring to me. I just want you to know that I send an email to the business administrator. I don't necessarily.
At any time of day or night.
I do. I don't necessarily copy you on the email because we're discussing city business. So he'll tell me how to come back and talk to you along with the law department. But I just want you to know, like, you see him texting and putting in his notes. I don't want you to think that he's not hearing you or that something is not going to happen, because I probably this afternoon you're going to see some cops on Lincoln Avenue and Lincoln Place. I bet you will. And Washington Street and Birdwin
Your
and all
text
those other
already
streets. All the other
There are certain things you can fix pretty quick. There are other things that take more time.
So now, this young man right here in the blue jacket.
No, he doesn't have a question. She does. He was just pointing at the.
Take your time.
be done to like improve the like police response time or like when you call, you have to get like redirected and then you gotta like wait to like it gets to like the east one or something. Like it's a bit confusing and I just want to see like is there anything that can be done about that?
Is it a 911 call?
Yeah, those calls. Like first they get like they go to some less than you have to like get redirected, right?
So 911 calls should go directly to the dispatch center. The only reason that they would be redirected is if every line going into the 911 dispatch center is blocked, as in busy. That can happen on a particularly busy night, but it's rare. 911 calls are otherwise not redirected.
Do you have an issue?
So I was just going to ask if you had an incident, if I can track it down.
You know, just usually sometimes I would like try to call to like have someone like remove their car because like they would be blocking my driveway.
That's a little different. That actually, that's a call to the regular police desk as opposed to a 911 call. And again, I wouldn't encourage you to use 911 for that. Invariably, when you don't get an immediate response to a complaint about that, it's because the particular cars that are on duty that night are busy doing something else, and they will get to you when they're not dealing with an emergency. So I know that can be somewhat frustrating if you're calling to get somebody not to block your driveway, but in the scheme of things, if I have a robbery or I have a domestic violence incident or I have any one of a number of other things that would take precedent over a response to that, that's what's happening.
But does he have?
We don't have a 311?
Do you have a? I don't know who wanted that drink, but you're killing it. Do you have the number to the police department? No. Do you have the number to the police department from 266-4111? Okay. You should, for those times, you can call that number. 266-4111. And then press 1. 266-4111. And then press 1. That'll be non-emergency. If you call one number, I don't want you to have to say, is this police, is this fire, is this pothole? You need to call directly. 973?
You know what we have about that?
266-4111. You should. If you call New York in 311, the biggest complaint is my complaint gets looped with all the other ones and it takes more time to come back.
We're not even like a quarter the size of New York.
Same thing would happen here. New York has an operation with 8 operators.
You about to have a whole lot of people.
I agree. Hold on. New York has a 311 system with 20 operators. We would have a system with smaller operators. So if theirs has more operators and more calls, we're going to have less operators and we'll have more calls. It'll take the same amount of time. We've already, if you've done the research, If you've done the research, send me your results and I'll relate to them. I'll send you my research so you can see what we've already done. But I'm not talking about opinions and my feelings.
I'm not talking about opinions either.
Send me the research you did. Send me the research you did.
But what I'm saying is, because I don't want to I don't want this to turn into that, right? What I'm saying is, what have we done to explore other options? We can't stay.
Better question.
Okay.
Better question. I've researched not 311 system and it's a 211 system. Researched them both, and the time log and the resources that we need to put into them are not worth it for our size.
So is there any question
about your 911 system?
we should just stay with all of these different numbers?
Wait, you mean to tell me all the
Excuse me,
numbers
let's like get one question at a time, and let's like be cognizant of other people speaking. And I know, and I know we're all like, excited and anxious and passionate about what we're passionate about. but let's be kind and let's let one conversation stop before we start another conversation. Before we start another conversation. Now I have Miss Welch, Miss Scott, and Miss Swan in that order.
So I'm from New York.
This lady said
I called 311 many a times. It's horrible.
I didn't see it.
It's horrible. Yes, it's very hard to get through to someone. When you call 311, they'll ask you what's your problem. Then you have to go through so many different, lines or channels just to get to that one. Most of the time, you just hang up. I would just hang up. So for me, dealing with 311 coming from New York, it wasn't all of that. And I've dealt with them a lot of times.
Thank you, Miss Welch. Now,
Yeah.
Miss Scott.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Bativa Scott. I live on Lakeside Avenue. So I'm talking on behalf of my mother. She gave me my assignment, so I can see things listed here. But one of the things is, I'll just say this and put this out there. Our ward, I don't know who our council person is, so I'm always contacting Avery, so I thank God that she always responds to me. I think I really get on her nerves, but I'm grateful for her. Just wanted to put that out there. The second thing, I have a tree that is on somebody else's property, but now it's hanging over to mine. And the inspection person came out, but unfortunately, like Mayor, my mother didn't get, I think, the receipt or anything. It's supposed to follow up. But the thing is, because when we're living on Lakeside Avenue, it's 3 townhouses within a thing. We have a long driveway. So when I come out, the tree is really hidden that I have to duck my head. Mind you, I'm only 5'3", but I have to duck my head because the tree is slapping me.
What's the address?
422 Lakeside Avenue is where I live, but the tree is on the other side. So the tree is facing the back part of the house is the tree hanging over to my side. So when I park my car and the day gets windy or we have a hurricane, I'm afraid that the brakes are going to hit my car because that's how low it is. And it's starting to grow and you see it's a original tree. So my mother was trying to find out, are we responsible for getting this tree cut down? Because we want to cut it down, then somebody come at us talk about why we cut their tree. But it is an obstacle for our side.
We'll look at it.
Okay, so that's the first.
Generally speaking,
Uh-huh,
But again, we'll look at it first.
okay,
Generally speaking, if a tree from your neighbor's property falls over and is hanging onto your property, you're responsible for removing it. You have to cut, right, you have to cut the limbs back.
That's very good. Okay, Miss Swan, and then Mr.
Scott.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Miss Swan.
Because I walk the dog at night, and so I'm like aware of things that's issues in the area at night. And so there's a lot of street lights out, and I call PSCNG, and sometimes they respond, and sometimes they don't. There was a street light out at Hartwyck Place and Highway, and there was no number on the tree, so I couldn't call anyone. And then I saw someone from Public Works, and I told him within a few days the light came back on. But there is a major problem to me in the community with PSCNG street lights being out, and people do not call. So I just call for my neighborhood. When I see a light out, I go and I get the number the next day and I call. You can only really call in for one light at a time. And once there's another light out, so I asked another neighbor, Wilma, to make the call. And then also walking the dog at night, as this lady was saying, tree limbs, and we have trees in our house in the backyard, and we have them trimmed. And then the tree was hanging on the side of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and they had those tree limbs cut back within the last few weeks, so they were responsible. But then in walking the dog, there are people that have property near corners, and their street limbs come over into the walkway. So can the Public Works people cut those limbs because it's just a street? And then I end up walking in the street because the limbs are hanging over.
Yeah, they're blocking the sidewalk.
Yes.
So how do I tell Public Works to
Call
come
in.
out? Because,
Call in the complaint.
did call Public Works about, see this property by the high school, this lot right here? I called them about this lot early this summer. The gentleman's real nice. He said, oh yeah, we'll come out, we'll cut the, lawn. Everything is all out into the sidewalk. It's next to this lady's house. And I told her I called, but no one ever came out. It's on Clarendon, right next to, let's see.
So private property has to be called under code enforcement
But
first.
but I called Public Works. I gave the guy,
Before you leave, right?
and he said he would come out, and nobody came out. And that was the early part of the summer. So it's people that have property next to the street and limbs and everything hanging over to the sidewalk, and it's not cut. And then the street lights, and then it's this property on Clarendon. I think the city owns it, right? Okay, the Board of Education. And so that's not
October, there's a board meeting at Lincoln Avenue School.
I'm sorry, for people who have property maintenance concerns or lights out, like we just heard, Ray Wingfield is here today, so please, if you have those issues, make sure that we get it to them, the addresses and the information. We'll address it.
Yes, just going back to the previous, the opening of your presentation regarding the study of the street, because Ms. Martin had mentioned concern about the traffic. So how long does the study take? Because it's a major issue, like she was saying. I live on Essex, right after like the light. So I have the people coming out of 280, making that right turn. Then you have freeway, and we also have like stores like the bakery. When the truck comes, they park there, the double park, and my driveway is right by the freeway. So, as I had mentioned to Ms. Martin, the first meeting, last September, taking my son to school, I was always late. Because just to come out of the driveway to go, I understand in the beginning, there was a lot of construction. There was, when you go to Lincoln, there was something getting done everywhere. So, but the traffic is still a big problem. Right there.
Right on
All
South Essex.
South Essex, like.
Right where the bakery is.
Yes.
Where the bakery
It's
is.
all
Across the street from the RPM development.
Yes, I live in the RPM development, so it's.
You're talking about that driveway right there across from John's Market.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a big problem, it's a big issue for me. And people are double parking to go to the bakery, and sometimes I'm driving just to get to the driveway. It takes me a while because you have people double park, and then cars coming towards you. You coming from this way, and cars coming out of the 280, car coming out of the freeway, and then you have.
And they're still at highway speed, even though they're on the street.
Yes, so it's very, it's bad. So I would like for you guys to really take a look at it and see how fast this issue can be resolved.
Okay, so traffic studies, the first thing I would do is do some enforcement while we're doing a traffic study. Traffic study can take anywhere from 30 to 90 days in order to do it right.
Okay, but you have to need to send some cops there to reinforce, especially those double parking or trucks. Sometimes even like people, they just come, like they driving, or those commercial van, like she was talking about, like they have this ladder, they just come and just park there, and then they just cross, go to the store, and not minding, like, okay, this is a driveway, like you just park, what am I supposed to do? I have to go to work, or I have to. So now I'm blowing the horn, nothing, because they just put their blinking on and then just park their car right there. So it needs to be more controlled because it's bad.
Mr. Scott? Yeah, it's about the 911 system. You mean to tell me that it could get to the point where it gets so busy, you dial 911 and it goes busy?
It doesn't go busy. What happens is the call automatically gets transferred to a regional 911.
Okay, so that's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
Okay, because I actually, when I worked for Verizon, I worked outside and I did with 911 systems, and that's usually the case.
Yeah.
By the way, what kind of, are you looking to advance, are you looking to put in the E911 systems, like the next generation? It's supposed to give you better accuracy on your calls, like your cell phones.
Yeah, that'd be too accurate.
No, 'cause it might help, because I've actually helped, put them in certain.
We're in the process of planning a new combined communication center. And the combined communication center would use E911.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. And one more question, and I'll stay up my soapbox for it. I'm speaking on behalf of Friends of Metcalf. We come out every third Saturday for cleanup in Metcalf Park, guys.
Yeah.
I spoke with Marty Mays in regards to the refurbishment of Metcalf Park, and I told me you guys were in the meeting. I just want to know when that's going to begin, because I was under the impression we were going to start that this summer.
So the plans for the basketball courts have been in and reviewed. I have to go back and check whether or not they're going to go out to bid now, or whether they're going to go out to bid in a little while, but the work is going to start in spring.
In spring.
You can't do the work in winter.
Yes.
Okay, so one other question, sorry, separate from them. So I have a relative that lives on Reynolds Terrace off of Center Street,
Okay.
and that's a very busy street. It's a two-way, and sometimes coming up that street, it's almost like you could have an accident. Is there anything to be done or considered regarding either making it a
We're
one-way?
looking at making it a one-way route.
That would be awesome.
We've been looking at it on and off for the last 6 months. We ultimately got to the point where we have to have the engineer go out and do a traffic count.
Great.
And then the issue's gonna be whether or not we do alternate side of the street parking or parking on both sides of the street.
All right, so I have a question, then Ms. Watts.
Mine's real short.
Okay, so, whenever we do that for Reynolds Terrace, when we count, can we take into consideration that they have a food pantry there? So on certain, so on certain days, it's much more traffic
Yes.
than it is on others.
And the church, the 7-day Adventist church.
Right.
Ms. Watts?
Just two quick statements and then a question for you. Jody's thing about the Furman parking, like that would just be amazing, especially near Fairview, where there's a
So
park.
everybody might not know who Jody is.
I'm Jody.
And her, because Jody is an attorney.
I am an
Yeah,
attorney.
she is, she's an attorney.
Yeah. And you're on the Historian Preservation.
Historic preservation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because on Fairview, there's a apartment building on Lincoln Avenue, and people come parking down Fairview and Mountain View and all those other side streets because there's no parking but their building. And then that cuts off parking for residents. Ms. Campbell, her idea was people, please, curbing their dogs. I saw you guys put up at the different parks, the little baggy things, but sometimes that thing is empty as well. Like, I don't even mind partially sometimes picking up somebody's crap so a kid don't fall into it, or when kids want to run and play in the grass, they're not expecting to roll in dog food,
Right.
you know? And the question was from a staff member at Lincoln Avenue School. When we had asked before about that parking lot near our school, they said that it was owned by the hospital. That's why it couldn't be sold off ever to the board.
That's about you.
But yeah, because with the drop and go area, it took about 6 or so parking spots that staff members would also park in. So they were wondering if it was owned by the hospital, if nobody could get in contact with the hospital. How is it that carnivals are thrown there and tailgating parties and things of that nature?
It isn't that no one can get in touch with them. To be perfectly candid, and so that the record's clear, we offered that parking lot to the school district a year and a half ago, and they turned it down.
Okay.
Why?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna let.
Well, I think so we don't own it, but we have significant ability to discuss with them the uses of it.
Mhm.
And so the one-off uses, they're fine with. The longer-term uses that the school would have, it would require security, it would require upgrades, it would require lighting, and possibly striping.
Okay.
And so just using it by the school really creates much more of an expense for the school's liability. So that may be why they didn't do it.
Okay.
But there's certainly, we should discuss at least using part of it, maybe 10 spaces, to at least cover what we did in the drop-off zones, so that if we only use part of it, then the liability and the expense is decreased. So I'll bring it up with the superintendent again.
Yes, because she was saying how some of the staff members are parking even further away, and she's like, I know you live in a city with public people, but I was trying to explain how residents already don't have parking, so it's unfortunate that, you guys complaining about being able to park to come to work, but residents that live here, that pay to live here, they don't have parking as well. So, boo-hoo for us, boo-hoo for y'all as well.
So we're gonna take 2 more questions, because we started at 10:35, and I like to be mindful of people's time. So, I think people are gonna kind of hang around, so you can probably have personal conversations, one-on-one conversations. We're gonna have this young lady here, then Karen Wells, and then we're gonna close.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chantal Wilson. I live in 765 Rose Avenue. I have a question for Mr. Hartwyck. In regards to the transportation studies, are they taking into consideration the oncoming population increase that's going to happen? We already know that. Is that already taken? Is that going to be taken into consideration?
It is.
Well,
Oh, me?
yes.
I just wanted to say, these meetings are wonderful, and Adrian, I want to thank you for that. And everybody comes and goes, it's all good stuff. But the thing is, all the things that we're discussing here could be entered online and addressed if they come. I just want to give you an example, so you can, no, just so you get an example. 3 or 4 years ago, I wrote a system for the city of New York called lot cleaning. Any lot in New York City, anywhere in New York City, if you wanted to do a complaint, you put it online, it goes to the public sanitation, blah, 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 it gets taken care of. Technology can handle all of it. I'm done.
Okay, so we're gonna have 1 quick question, 2 quick questions, and then that's it.
I just wanted to make a statement. I think that technology is awesome, wonderful. I don't appreciate the paper process at all. However, there is a people issue in this city. And this is important because what you hear from this lady, this gentleman, this lady, is that you have an advocate on every block. And we need to get people to be more involved by connecting physically with each other and hearing each other's pain points, and then getting together and also, as the mayor said, getting involved with the solutions. Bringing your voices, bringing those things, and then we need to have a very efficient system of tracking and disseminating that information to everybody who is involved or concerned. But your community, your block-to-block advocates, those need to really be activated so that they can report to you, so the Councilman Wood and Mayor, Mr. Hartwyck aren't running around trying to hear everything coming out, and that some things can actually get done. I think you have a very educated, professional constituency that isn't really being fully utilized.
Clearly.
Okay, and so this is an effort in us being more participatory in the process. coming out on a day like today and bringing forth issues, but also thinking about solutions. I would love to see a trolley run from West Orange Main Street all the way down through East Orange, and then we can remove some of these cars, put some flowers out, put some tables, and that people who come here to shop should not be driving on Main Street to shop. Leave those cars somewhere else. Catch a trolley. Culture to me is money. If you can inspire, if you can inspire people to have the same attitudes at downtown Montclair,
Amen.
then we can all prosper. Your people won't mind paying the taxes. It'll be worth it. So, but we have to come together and bring our genius to the table, bring our experiences, and make that happen. So I'm with you. I'm so ready to help out.
Council, can I just jump in really quickly and have Kristen do a quick presentation on the us reviving the Main Street streetscape project?
Wait, could I ask, because my question piggybacks off of something she said, right? It's about participation, right? So the boards and the commissions that we have, are they all appointed positions by either the mayor or council people? Can somebody?
Except for the board of Ed.
Except for the board of ed.
Those are elected, right?
Right.
So how can, like, say if a resident is not connected with a council person, how can they join a board or commission? Does it always have to come through
A council person. So, and I heard your question the other night on the council meeting. So,
Can I answer a question really quickly?
yes.
862-373-0025. I would like to be on this board or that board. And if you look across the city at most of the board appointments, they said they wanted to be on the board. I said, send me your resume. They sent me your resume. They checked out. They were appointed.
So to answer your question, the mayor is right. But if you're not connected to a council person or somebody that you don't feel connected to, you can always give your request to the business administrator. You can. For me, I think some legislation needs to change regarding the boards and commissions. Because when I came on as a council person in 2016, somebody prior to me that was no longer on the board had put 2 or 3 people on the board where I was stuck with those people. And I'm not saying that those people are good or bad, but I didn't know those people. Those people didn't show up for the board meetings. There was really no way for me to put the people off. So we were kind of stuck for them. So I think we should change legislation to that. I'll write it, but this is what I ask you. I'm only one vote. Excuse me, one vote. So I can write all the legislation I want. If I don't get the consensus of the council, it dies. Like I did a resolution to get rid of barbed wire because the people in the East Ward did want barbed wire. I put it up twice. It failed twice because we couldn't get 4 votes. But this is where you come in.
Right.
Like if you look at the agenda and you see, with the exception of cannabis, that's a totally different story. But we would be sitting in the chambers. Council people would say, I'm not voting for that. We're not going to do that. No way, no how. With the A-Route that we want to put up with our Jewish communities, which will allow them to walk to shore on their Sabbath. I'm not voting for that. I'm not doing that. I'm not what?
Right.
Jewish community came out. Rabbis came out. They spoke. 100% vote.
Yeah.
So that's what I say. So when you want something and you see it on that council, you get as many people as you can to sign on to that meeting. You get as many people as you can to write comments other than Jeff Bell. You have to show up. So with that being said, I'll propose the legislation that we don't have any lame appointments to a board. Like if I'm voted off, right, that person should be removed, or we should have some kind of process where the board would come back to us and say, well, Adrian so-and-so is not reporting, take them off, put somebody else on the board. But I'm gonna need you when that legislation goes up, I'm gonna need you to support it. And what I mean is, call the other council people, hound them. It's like, I'm a Tom Jones person, so whenever he used to tell us to fax our Congress people, and we fax, and then the machines break down because we're getting so many fax, and they have to turn off the fax machine. That's what we need you to do when we put up legislation like that. I put up legislation for the special needs registry for it to just be disseminated. I got stopped, cold stopped.
Explain what that means, how significant it
It's significant because if you are living in a home and you have someone with special needs, you have an autistic child, you have somebody that's depressed, you have someone that's bedridden, you have someone that's sick, according to the code in the city of Orange Township, they can be put on a registry. So when the police and fire go out to their homes, they know that there's somebody in this home that has special needs.
Oh, that makes sense.
I got stopped.
is. So it's already on the books.
It's
But
on
to
the books.
improve it,
I just wanted it to be disseminated so people
everybody
will know
knows
about it. So,
Well, with the new website and everything, it's gonna be online.
but we're doing the research. We found that other towns, they have people join the state. So I'm amending the legislation so people will go straight to the state because it's important. It's important. I had one of the constituents, she said, Adrian, I have a 40-year-old Alzheimer's son. Suppose I died of a heart attack. Suppose the police or fire came. My son is gonna be doing what he does with that autistic people do. And she said, and they're not gonna know that he's special needs. We want them to know that my son is special needs and he needs to be handled a certain way.
That's very important.
So I just,
And they voted it down?
they didn't vote it down. They started asking so many questions like, well, who gets the list?
but I want to be clear that the list exists, but all we're asking for is that you don't have to go out and find it.
Right.
We should be sending it to you with your tax bill.
Right.
We send it right to you. You have the information immediately, so it's disseminated through immediately. So through executive order, I'm just ordering my tax department to include that and just send it out to people so you have it in your own possession. But that still doesn't get renters.
Is it
You still
online?
have to figure out a way to make people who don't own
That
it.
it violates that person's HIPAA rights? Is that why they don't want it disseminated?
No, it's not a HIPAA issue. It just says that beware, this person's on a special needs list.
Right.
So if they come, an autistic person starts yelling out, the police won't react as if the person's attacking them.
Right.
They understand what's happening when they get to that location.
Right. And then tell them right here, then we gonna close.
And the record that we get when someone responds to that is not openable. We're not allowed to give it out to the public.
Right. Right. And this young man here,
Yes, Richard Martha, 740 McLaughlin Place. So I have two passions, basketball and the arts, but I'll skip my basketball question. I hope that the park, Metcalf Park, will be transformed in the spring. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
But regarding to the arts, my question is there a part of the budget allocated to the arts? And by that, I'll give you an example. I rode through East Orange last night. I went by Manufacturers Village. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. So it's a
They can
19th.
close that down, you know.
Right, I saw it also. But it was a 19th century building that was probably sitting there, so they let the artists go in there, set up studios, and use it. It's a tremendous boon to the community. You know, when we talk about culture, revitalization, you have to take the arts into consideration to help bring a town up. So my question is Orange doing anything with the real estate that it owns that's sitting there, that's getting blighted? Is there anything planned for the arts to help artists? Because artists, they don't make a lot of money, so they can use all the help they can get.
We're trying to get the underpasses done, we're working on that.
Right. But outside of that, outside of painting on walls, it's about getting studios for artists, getting spaces for artists.
Yeah, I mean, specifically, there's no money in the budget to provide spaces for artists.
Which is crazy.
And it may be crazy, but it's a pretty tough budget to begin with. and, just to provide basic services.
That's your
So,
mother.
for example, I'm looking at, we talked about the rodent problem before. The biggest issue with regard to rodent is garbage collection. So we've been redoing all the garbage specifications, and we're going to be looking at an increased cost in terms of garbage removal, but it's necessary in order to combat rodents. But that's just an example. So we've been addressing a portion of the artist issue by providing space for public art, but not space to create the public art, which is really what you're asking.
Yes.
And
Where you gotta get your public and your private sector to come together and make that happen, If we can come up with, deals for developers, we can come up with private industries that can come together, that have money, they might not have as much money, talking about me, that will take on some of that responsibility and will make space for this to happen. I have a program coming to me that is free, that is for online streaming and video production, and they just looking for places to reach out to communities, but you have to have a space and you have to have an audience. So in that sense, I'm always like, yes, and I reach out to Orange and I said, listen, can you help me get kids? Can you help me get, and then I provide it, right? But then you can't have the money people coming in and saying, well, look, we just coming straight up to get rent, and that's it. We're not really reinvesting in the culture of the population. So those partnerships, I think, when we make those, deals, that we have to also have. And I know you had something with RPM where they put in a little culture system, a cultural center at the bottom of one of the facilities. I don't know how well that.
It was minuscule.
Okay. So, but you need some, you need real partnerships that are going to really have an impact on the long term of a community. And art is definitely.
I think that's what, like the last coffee conversation, we spoke about bringing our business communities together. Spoke to the mayor about it, so we can have a real vibrant business community where we can go to them and ask them those things. And Fatima Turner, who owns this establishment here, Iya, and some other people, we wanted to sit down and pull our businesses together. Minority businesses together, and also our developers. That's another thing. But we wanted to pull them together because we think that they are things that they could, give back to our town. For example, here we have Orange students working here, so that's Dr. Turner's way of giving back to the community. With Thea, she has this fabulous gymnastics program right here. She's in with the Board of Education. She does the regionals, the state regionals here, and we give grants to people. So that's a great way that she's giving back to the community. So we have those things. We spoke to the mayor, and we're going to come together. So if you would just please be a part of that, because we looked at doing the bridges, like under the bridges, over and under. I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina, and we do that. And Greensboro got a grant from the Arts Foundation. The Arts Foundation. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They got a huge grant from that, and what they did was they took young people, but they revitalized different parts of the city with things that were going on historically. So the first one that they did, it was near an iron foundry. So they took window frames from that foundry and they put them under the bridge, and then they put certain lights there. So they did that as a connection with the city of Greensboro, connecting to the historically Black parts of the city. So when you're walking there, you see this, and then they encompass people in the communities. So I love the arts. I can teach, and I want to take the practice to art. And I so I couldn't remember all those artists' names, all those various names, I couldn't. Um, But with that being said, like, we would love for you to come in and sit down with us and possibly do something like start off a summer camp for the kids, and then not only let it be summer, like when they're out on winter break, we automatically kick into
Or after school.
that break, or we kick into after school programs like that. We could join the 6 to 9 program as a art. I think we should just have, but we should have somebody that can spearhead that, and it's definitely not you. But with that being said,
I just have a quick question though. I think before it was stated at a council meeting that we do get some money back from recycling. From recycling, yes.
yes,
Okay,
it's not a lot.
but the thing is, it's not a lot because it's not required of these apartment buildings.
But it actually is.
Well, I was a longtime resident of an apartment building on Park Avenue, and they don't recycle at all. All the trash goes into just one place. So with all these other buildings popping up, it would be great if they started some type of recycling program, so we would be able to get more money into the city to help with the artist situation. If we had a rec center, possibly, where artists can go and do things and children can learn how to swim outside of waiting for the summertime to swim outside in the pools. Like, that would be awesome as well.
So let's just, first of all, there's triple stream recycling, which is required in the city.
So can we just let DA Chris speak, and then we're gonna close, I promise. Close it up.
But
And
Chris,
they're not recycling.
Well, that's an enforcement issue. I just want to make it clear that it is required.
So
It's
they have-
required of all new buildings as well.
Okay.
With regard to the rec center, the rec center, it's right on the corner of High and Main, where the old YWCA and the Rossi's paint. That's gonna be a rec center.
My son is 14 now. He'll be under my roof for the next 4 years. Should he keep his hopes up? Yeah?
Be done with it.
All right.
Construction takes about 22 months.
Starting, so this is gonna be the rec center, is there any
So updates with the hospital, we're in negotiation.
One more question.
Can we, like, so he's answer, can we, like, have?
So the hospital, as you know, is owned by a particular entity that hasn't been very cooperative with the city. We've placed them in the same room with a national developer to try and negotiate and work out a deal where the property would be transferred from the existing owner to the new owner, who would then work with the city on the redevelopment. We'll know whether or not that's gonna come to fruition within the next 4 to 6 months.
How can we bother them though? Like, do you know?
Put them on blast. Social media.
Just really quickly, and Brett, I heard you guys speaking about art programs. So what I'm trying to launch once a month. I don't know whoever wants to volunteer to assist. Once a month, a local art show or art showcase for our. I have one of my students here who's an Orange graduate who's interested in art, and I have lots of students from Orange who often ask me if they could rent the spot out to showcase their art, and they can't afford really to rent the spot out. So what I would like to do is all of our local artists who can help and assist to help us to showcase their art maybe once a month and maybe provide some mentoring for them, and I would be willing to provide the space. So I'm any volunteers?
I'm a volunteer. In fact, I got a Orange High School graduate who's a famous artist now.
Okay.
I'm gonna get him to do something.
Yeah, I have a student here that's an artist, and he's very interested in enhancing his art. So he's a tornado. So I do hire orange students. I also have some orange interns coming, and like Adrian, Dr. Councilwoman said, sorry, I'm hot and serving all this coffee. I definitely, that's my way of giving back by, in addition to working here and serving coffee, they also learn other instrumental tools that's going to be crucial in the things that they need for their career. And if we could have some sort of business initiatives, I could do more for the students. But like I said, Savion, and I have a bunch of other bring the spot out. So what I would like to do is all of our local artists who can help and assist to help us to showcase their art maybe once a month and maybe provide some mentoring for them. And I would be willing to provide the space. So any volunteers?
I'm a volunteer. In fact, I got a Orange High School graduate who's a famous artist now.
Okay.
I'm gonna get her to do something.
Yeah, I have a student here that's an artist, and he's very interested in enhancing his art. So he's a tornado. So I do hire orange students. I also have some orange interns coming, and like Adrian, Dr. Councilwoman said, sorry, I'm not serving all this coffee. I definitely, that's my way of giving back. In addition to working here and serving coffee, they also learn other instrumental tools that's going to be crucial in the things that they need for their career. And if we could have some sort of business initiatives, I could do more for the students. But like I said, Savion, and I have a bunch of other local artists that's interested. So if I have volunteers to help host once a month a local artist showcase for our young and upcoming artists, and even some mentoring. Like Savion, when I interviewed him, he was clear in saying, I have no desire to be a barista when I grow up, but I need money to fund my craft. And instead of him going out and doing anything else, he's here. He's working. He works extremely hard so that he can make money to buy the things that he needs to perfect his craft. So I'm open to anybody who would like to support that initiative.
Give it up for Savion.
So this is gonna conclude our coffee conversation. So I wanna thank everyone for coming out today. If there's a topic, or if you would like to be,
So we're hanging around.
if you would like to be, if you would like to, if you just call me and say, Adrian, I want to host one of your coffee conversations, and I want it to be about art. I want it to be about business, and then that way we can bring people in, we can draft up things, and we can do things in the city. We can make sure that it's something that goes on the budget during the next budget season, because we'll have a whole proposal for something like that. So from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you for everyone for spending your Saturday morning with us. It is very important. To me, I love my town, I love my people, but as he has said, we have to stay connected, and we have to connect ourselves to each other in order for our city to go forward. And we have to be able to throw all of our big-headedness or whatever it is around and just come together as a people. And when I say as a people, I'm not saying as a black people, brown people, woman people. I'm saying as a orange people, as a whole. There are things that you like or dislike from the city. I mean, you need to have conversations with people to say, look, this is what I dislike and this is what I propose. So instead of just saying, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, this is terrible, 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 sometimes we need you to come up and say, well, why don't you do this? Or can you do this? And then we'll find out, I know I'll find out, and I know the business administrator know I'll find out, and the mayor know, I don't have any problem calling him, or the law department, find out like what we can do to make our city move forward. So for me, that's my closing statement. B.A. Chris, thank you so much for being out here on a Saturday morning. Mayor Warren, thank you so much for coming out on a Saturday morning. Ray Winfield, the planning board vice president. She's the planning board vice president? Okay.
But she just here as a resident.
Okay.
She's always on duty.
And I met Barbie this morning, and I forgot the doggy's name, but I met them this morning. Want to thank Tina Turner for allowing me to take over her restaurant on Saturday mornings and host these. But feel free to call me, contact
contact me, text me,